There is satisfactory literature, there is unsatisfactory literature. For me, The Great Gatsby was unsatisfactory as I read it before I became more invested in literature, but I believe in the power of the illusion, the power of humanity to compound the value of words and stories. In my opinion, Nmixx's latest album details the contention between aspects of The Great Gatsby. You don't believe me, and that's okay, but I'm gonna take you on a journey with Nmixx. Dash begins in a very indirect manner, the notion to dash coming before even the grammatical subject of the lyrics. The Great Gatsby is actually famously told from a perspective separate from Gatsby, Nick Carraway, who tells the titular character's story as he watches this sort of tragedy unfold. They speak of a light, which, while red, still bears similarity to one of the most recognizable symbols of all time, Gatsby's green light across the water, and they tell us this as they ride in a car with the passenger seat left empty. While driving Gatsby's car, Gatsby's love interest runs a woman over, and the husband of the victim kills Gatsby, thinking he was the one who committed the crime. In doing so, the man makes it so Gatsby's elaborate scheme, perhaps driving the car himself with his love interest in tow, never reaches its hopeful conclusion. In a roundabout way, he dies, much like he approaches his desires and how to attain them in a rather roundabout way, with parties he hopes his love will attend. No one changes their pace to adapt to their situation. They approach unfamiliar paths and simply beckon their dreams to fall into place. I mean, in Dash, they're leaving skid marks, so they do leave a mark, but on the other hand, in Run for Roses, they describe having these connections with people, and they live indirectly through them, through the hands they hold, the roses they run for. The idea of being truly united is a dream they have to constantly strive for in what are actually only uncertain hopes that they can attain it. We know their hearts are in it because we hear their hearts, but they approach a rather extrinsic reality in a manner that appears intrinsic, perhaps to even trick themselves of what they do and do not believe. No man is an island, we're alive because we are not alone. But what they want is recognition, their roses, and perhaps to convince themselves that hell is not the other. Gatsby has these amazing parties, but one has to consider the difference between possession and action, which do not sound similar, but they can be. Gatsby's parties are a glorious show of wealth, but it exposes what he lacks, like with the library that amounts to nothing, and no sign of budding love to show for anything he does. Run for Roses is about attaining things, but the speaker remains taking action even if their goal itself is not to run. They run anyway, whereas Dash harps on the thudding of the D sound, a sprint more than a marathon in action that leaves an impact. Soñar also mentions the dream car, but in a figurative sense, the white clouds being their dream car, which could mean a variety of things, being surrounded by celestial imagery. Dash mentions a quivering star, but Soñar includes shooting stars pouring down, breaking out of orbit, and throwing an anchor above the sky. All of this is abstract. While it might mean a number of things to different people, it is still taking the same indirect approach and notably contrasting it with short commands to the point. It seems the speaker knows both worlds, but they say the world is simply an egg. This is interesting for a lot of reasons. Gatsby tells elaborate lies about his true identity while living in what is called West Egg. Then saying he is a rock reminds us he exists first, seemingly able to skirt around his past and become something new. But also in Macbeth, Macduff's family is killed under Macbeth's orders, and one of the murderers calls Macduff's son an egg before killing him. This plays into a narrative about the chicken versus the egg, but this also ties into the idea of existence. Macduff's son existed as an egg, not really his own life yet, but the world being like this is a very different idea. The world can become something of itself, but I believe that would happen through freedom of condemnation, and Gatsby, this rock, refuses to make true decisions and strides towards what he wants, but that too is a decision that screws him over in the end. While the speaker claims to not be a sleeping princess in a fairy tale, they urge the listener to engage in dreams, and Gatsby clearly struggled with being able to actually do that effectively. The album, however, is named after black iron oxide, which is formed by co-precipitation. This is essentially the breaking down of multiple soluble components, and this album, in my opinion, breaks characters down like a more than slightly atypical reign of rebirth in something or someone new. This is regardless of the nature of how Gatsby might truly exist in that sort of Schrodinger's cat-like situation of characters that die on the page.
Everyone